try to balance out the SE students. So there's so many other pieces at that point. At the beginning, setting them up, it works well because we can divide and even when they come in the door, and some schools have that transient population a whole lot more than others. Canto, for example, we're up and out all year long. So that does make it difficult we try, but there are times where we're hoping
Okay, so the
somebody will
question,
get.
I think the question is that are y'all willing to discuss it or not?
I'm not willing to discuss, as I said, especially about the ESOL part. That's a state requirement, and we run into a lot of issues with that whenever I was in HR every year.
Huh?
Out of field.
Okay. What about other out of field assignments?
Preventing any employee from teaching out of field? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
Okay. So two things, we're not talking about someone who is hired out of field. They're hired knowing that they are out of field for that
I'm
position.
talking about someone who is a certified in social studies and then they're told, well, you have to pick up an English class. And they're not certain, they have not had any other than their first 2 years of basic English.
I know what you're talking about. So we're talking about someone who is hired to teach social studies. At no point is there a conversation they'll be teaching, you guys are 7 periods now, I forgot. Teaching 5 periods of social studies, you'll teach 2 periods of English. So if they're hired with that expectation, they are forced to take the job.
Well, say they're not hired, that they've been teaching it, and all of a sudden they're being, Vicki,
They're being asked, would you mind picking up this, teaching this class over here? Really would prefer, you understand it's not your thing, but could you please take it up on this? Would really appreciate it. And of course, what do they feel? They feel like, oh, okay, yeah, I will. And then they're getting evaluated negatively against it. So.
But we're talking about two kind of different things here on the evaluation part versus the.
Right, but still teaching out of field, that leads to it. So these people don't even want to teach out of field, but they're feeling like they need to teach out of field.
But they're asked to teach out of field, correct?
Yes.
They aren't being forced to.
Of course not.
Okay.
They would never be forced,
Not
but
that
they
way.
feel like they're being forced.
I mean,
perception is that you're asking me, but there's not much room for me to say no.
and then whenever what is happening though whenever they are teaching out of field? I know you said it, we'll talk about the evaluation part in just a second, but is it the fact that they then are listed out of field, or is it the fact that?
No, it's that they're not comfortable teaching out of field. That's part of it.
Okay.
And then tied to it is the valuation part.
Plus, it's not the best for the child. How is it best for the child for a teacher to be teaching out of a field that they're not comfortable with?
And at times I'd have to agree on that. Oh, yeah, we can discuss that. I do have an issue with the part of it where it says that they're being forced to teach out of the field. That one, but we can discuss it.
Okay.
Okay.
So okay.
I got a question. Am I supposed to be typing what you're rebuttaling back and forth?
No,
Because I
That's-
haven't.
not at this
No,
point.
not right now.
Okay.
Right now, you
Thanks,
just
Phil.
yes or no.
I was just making
No, that's
sure.
okay, Mel.
Sometimes it's getting to that point.
Yeah. So,
It's when we have the next discussion.
yeah, that's
That's
where,
when it's.
Okay.
this is more clarification, especially on my part on this one. And we could talk about the next one as well.
So C15, yes.
Now, on the next one, so you know, you're talking about the light duty workers. If you're talking about 100% instead of what they're currently getting. Okay, in the past, they were receiving minimum wage. That's been changed. They're receiving more than that now, but you're talking about light duty, correct? You're talking about line of duty workers comp or,
Linda. Stigler.
Well, I did have an aide at Crest that was on light duty, but she wound up getting 100% on her workman's comp pay.
If they're assigned here, the county office, they don't receive.
No, she went back to school.
If they're at a school site, doing the work at their school site, then they're not on light duty.
Okay, sorry. Before she went back, she's at school now, but she had a whole process and she even hired a lawyer and then she got the 100% pay.
Okay, I don't know exactly which person you're talking about with that, but I can tell you if they're here, they receive, this is my department, for those of you who don't know, I oversee the workers' comp. If they're here, I say here, they're district officer, working on light duty here, they don't receive 100%. If they're back at their school and they can do the job whenever we have the conversation with the administrator, then they're back on their contract.
What she's saying is that she was up here, she got an attorney and fought it, because she didn't want more than, no, it was a 66%,
It's 80%.
or whatever it
It was
is.
80%.
Okay, and she got her attorney fees plus 100%.
I don't know anything about that one, so I can speak to what I've dealt with
Okay.
for the past year, and that's what that's been. It's now 80%. And if they are working at their school site, they receive, they're on their regular hours, whatever that might be at their school. And your school's a lot different with the hours, with buses
Well,
and
we were-
whatnot.
But
Yeah.
when they're here, she wound up getting 100%.
But I don't know about that one. I can't speak to that one.
Does the district determine that, how much an employee's gonna get for workman's comp?
80% is what we pay. I mean,
I understand that, my question is that 80% a district decision, or is that a workman comp's decision?
Workers' comp says you have to pay, they have to receive at least 80% of their salary. So in the past, whenever we were paying less than that, and I'm not trying to bring up their situation, but other situations, people were reimbursed through our insurance, or claim went to them, and then they were reimbursed from them. We have now said, we're gonna pay that amount. So that way the employee gets it in their paycheck, they don't wait for reimbursement or any of that. Does that make sense?
Okay, so then the question is, are you willing to discuss it?
Oh, we can
or not?
discuss it, I just wanna make sure you
Okay.
understood.
So that's yes.
There's a few different things when we talk about in line of duty,
Okay,
okay?
She went back to Pittsburgh.
how can we, that's a substitute student, or the support employees?
So is that where we're at? We can use the subs.
Mhm,
Now, we've talked about this before, haven't we?
mhm.
Okay, I want to make sure that we had discussed this before. May not have
It
been
was
in
more on
here.
salary before though, it was just on salary.
Okay, it might have not have been in here, it might have been a conversation you and I had, Vicki, before.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can discuss that. I will want to discuss, their uses and their roles at the school, if that's okay. So you're aware of that.
So 17 is yes?
Oh, can I answer your question about the retaining money?
Mhm.
Yes, we are still using it for mentors, for teachers, guidance, and whatnot. So yes, I'm sorry, we can go back to that later.
Okay.
Just proceed.
We did have some discussion on number 18 before, 1L on personnel.
Yeah, we can discuss that. I mean, it's gonna be a scheduling thing at the school, so we can talk about it, like,
Yes, great.
the next one, I have a question for you.
Okay, I will tell you, there are, in some situations, it seems like certain employees are being constantly pulled where other employees are not. So when you're talking about fair rotation, something was actually brought up at our school was they were wanting, it came up, that hasn't gone any further than a suggestion, for people to sign up to be on the substitute rotation to cover classes during their planning. But you have certain people who are constantly being pulled for asked to sub, or whether it be a teacher or a support person, while other employees who had the same time off or are not. So that's the reason that's it.
I'm just trying to figure out how we can put something like that into contract language, a fair rotation process. Just imagining the middle schools and high schools versus the elementary school that aren't necessarily on a bell schedule kind of thing. That's just not sure how that we'd be able to put that in there. Now, if you're willing to just want to discuss it and see where it goes, we can try to discuss that.
Okay.
But as far as like contract language, I don't really, with our different schedules like that, I don't really know how that would work. But we can discuss it
Okay.
to see what we're talking about, yeah.
So yes.
The next one, I gotta ask, what are reasonable workloads? Are we talking about
Okay, so, you know, I don't know if you remember when it happened, but we had a cutback on personnel, and support especially started taking on more duties than they had in the past, because we had to cut back on certain things. So now they're not getting really compensated for that. They're still getting paid whatever, you know, their assignment is, but yet they're getting stretched. They have to go do this one, and they have to go do this one, and it is whatever the administration deems possible for their job. Again, I don't know the exact wording you guys have in mind for, what is that? What's the word? Other duties as assigned. But it's really, they're feeling like they're being pulled, you know.
And it's been closely tied with 21. Maybe if we had more updated job classifications.
well, I was gonna ask you about that one too, but if we can get to that one in just a second. So, are they doing work outside of the job description on 20?
Well,
that's known, or-
again, it's as deemed, so yes, they are. Their job description is like, let's say that, I don't know all the support jobs, but let's say they're supposed to sit at the front of desk, and they're supposed to do all of that. But then they're getting pulled to go watch the nurse, and this is not an example, please
Okay.
understand.
I get you.
And then they're being pulled that they have to, okay, now you have to go cover the clinic, and you have to now take care of that. And then you have to go cover this, and you have to take care of that. So because they don't have enough people to cover all of that, of course, everyone's being pulled. So so that's the workload we're looking at, and I think it goes more with the job classification. But now, as far as teachers, the workload is teachers having several preps, not just 3, but having 4 or 5 preps. That's unreasonable when you're having to switch classes so quickly, and you're only having 55 minutes, and you have to quickly switch to a different subject. You know, we have some teachers that are not just math or not just English, they're coupled.
Yeah, go across the.
So that's the workload with the teachers too. So that's the discussion that I think we'll have more people talk more about it a little bit when we start getting into the discussion on both of those. But that's what we're talking about.
Okay. Yeah, we can discuss that one. When you talk about the next one down, updated job classifications for support employees, are you talking about like each individual employee, what they're classified as, or just
Linda,
paraprofessional is? I'm just curious on that one.
Their job descriptions.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, I mean, so that's why it says classifications. I didn't understand if we were, you know, because I mean, there's some that are ESE paraprofessionals, some are just paraprofessionals, so we're talking job descriptions or,
Linda.
Yes, job descriptions to finalize and break down all the little categories that the requirements are. Because I have aides, which are office clerks, and have been in those positions right now for a year and a half, almost 2 years, but they're still being classified as just an aide. So they're not even being classified as their position is. So we gotta make sure, if they're gonna be an office clerk, this is their responsibilities. If they're gonna be an aide, this is responsibilities. To make sure that they're not crossing over and saying, well, it's a unilateral switch.
So just for this example you're talking about, are they doing work above their pay grade?
Yes,
They're not being compensated for it?
yes.
Yeah, we can talk about that, that's great. I just didn't know if we meant job classifications or job descriptions, so it sounds like we're kind of talking about both. Okay, I just wanted, that's why I wanted to make sure I understood what you were asking here. Give me a second.
I tried to look in the policy handbook and I could not find what it talks about video cameras. I mean, I may have missed it because I was doing it on the fly, but the issue came up, that the suggestion was put a video camera so they could track a student's behavior. And the teacher was uncomfortable about it because she has other students that are in there also, about what their privacy rights were.
So that's what you're talking about in classroom. Okay, I didn't know, okay.
In classrooms.
Okay.
And I understand that Crest is a total, its own total entity on that, but this was not a Crest.
Okay, I don't know of any policies that we have about that one, so,
I know I don't know if we still do, but we used to have a camera in our ISS room, but none of the other classrooms were, but this was going into a regular classroom, so.
so you want to develop a video camera policy that doesn't violate the rights?
Or at least know what the,
All right, let me find out if we have something like that, and I'll report back if we do. Is that okay? That's
Yeah.
right. I couldn't tell you if we do or don't have it, so let me go check.
so can we have a discussion on
Yeah,
it?
yeah, let me go check on that, and I'll let you know if we have something to begin with. When we talk about developing policies, it's a little
And
more
you can put a
challenging.
note after that one that Mr. Bomber's gonna bring back some information.
Yep. All right, so the next one, you want to change the transfer of sick leave policy
Mhm.
to have it where non-family members, so they can donate between non-family members, correct?
Right. If you have a teacher or support person who they have a catastrophic cancer or something, and they've used up all their sick leave and all that possible that they could use from the sick leave bank, what can other employees donate sick leave to them? And there are districts that do allow that.
I know there are. I'm just trying to think. There would have to be, we'll talk about this more. Yeah, we can talk about this now, but yes, but there's some things, kind of like if they're involved, how many sick days do they have to keep, how many they transfer?
And we made
would have to-
changes to
I know you, that's what I'm saying. But, yeah, we can talk about that, and I know it is in other districts. Just, can we talk about that? There's gonna be some intricacies on that, I know. All right, so what is the issue with the grievance procedure now?
Ms. Smith?
Oh, I'm sorry.
The grievance procedure, what's the issue with it currently stated?
Okay, off the top of my head.
24.
Yeah, I just want to know if we can talk about it, because if you recall, when we had language before, we started putting in the process, but we still had never gotten it clarified. Remember, Bradshaw was going to go in, and he was going to check into our procedures and.
So we want to go find out where we are in that, or?
We still need to bring that up, that grievance procedure and the complaint. And also, it has to do with the notification. Right now, we get notified if someone is in trouble. But they get a sheet saying, okay, there's a complaint against you. But the person is not, they're going in, when they're going into HR and they're going, or into Susie's way. Okay.
Yeah.
So many acronyms. And they go in there and they're sitting down, they're kind of blindsided. They're still not given everything. They're not told everything. And that's a procedure that anywhere out there, when you have an attorney finds out that information. ours goes in blind, until they're right there in the cold seat, or in the hot seat, I should
Well,
say.
no, well, when you say blind, I mean, they know the nature of the complaint.
They just know there's a complaint against them.
I mean, they know
Now-
it's listed on the
It's
sheet, the
listed
nature of
on-
the complaint.
Right, the nature of the complaint, but then a lot of people would go on, I have no clue what this is. I don't understand, I have no clue what this is.
Because on there it lists the person who made the complaint.
Well, no. Sometimes it's a complaint made by Susie Swain. That's happened too.
And I know, but that's what I mean, but she.
Okay, but still,
But she's the
Susie-
complainant, yes.
She made the complaint, but still the person doesn't know what it's about, because that's a very broad, okay, I don't know what I did. This is not someone that works with Susie Swain, this is a person that works in the school.
I understand.
So it's just, they're going in not understanding, you know, I mean, and then they get told, okay, well, this is what happened, blah, 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 and you're like, and then we're telling them not to speak, but we're not gonna be with everyone all the time. This is for everybody, this is not just for.
Oh, believe me, I understand that part.
But that's just one thing. We talked about already how we wanted to sit there and have more our procedures a little bit more outlined, where it's, you know, the procedures are step by step by step. Because this, what we have in the contract right now was the first thing that we got in there for a while. And it needs to still be clarified.
At this point, that's not something I'm interested in discussing. The district isn't.
Something else too.
We feel that procedure is
Okay,
fair and
so-
offers due process.
So you're saying no to 24?
That would be 25. No, 24 is the one that we began with Mr. Bradshaw,
Mm-hmm.
correct? And now we need to complete, that's the grievance process.
It was,
That was the one with Mr. Bradshaw.
yeah, that was the one with Mr. Bradshaw.
Yeah, that was, I believe, before I even got
Right,
in
that
here.
was with Sharon.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
so,
he
yes, we can
never
discuss,
clarified
we
that.
can discuss 24, and I will look into finding out where we are with that one.
Okay, so the complaint procedure, no.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, good Lord. Those of you who haven't had to recertify in the last 2 years, buckle up. The state, do you mind if I just speak to this real quick? The state last November changed their process for certification. It wasn't easy before, now they've made it darn near impossible. They have made it where you have to go in, and Deborah just explained it, you have to give, the names of, anyone who you went to school with, essentially. It is all sorts of information they ask for. And then you don't submit, if you're recertifying, you don't submit that to the state necessarily. You don't pay them, you still have to come pay Carol Bolton in HR. Well, it used to be a 2-page form that we had to fill out by hand.
It's almost 10.
Yes, it is quite a bit. If you print it out, I think it is 9 or 10 pages, correct? So that started last year, and for people who are recertifying through the district, that's the pain. You go pay Carol, you can get your recertification done very quickly. If you are going from temporary to professional, I know you guys have dealt with this a lot with a lot of people, yeah. That is an absolute nightmare. We have people that have turned stuff in December to the state, and come the end of March, still haven't heard. They've done everything they can, at least last year's is still going on, I assume it is.
Yeah, Cochran said that he is supposed to be fixed.
Okay.
but,
So, with that being said, I would love to make that easier, we can talk about it, but I don't see how we can discuss it. I'm more than happy, in case you guys to talk about it, but I don't know how we can fix it here. We've sent stuff out.
Oh, no, they're good about notifying. I was
Yeah.
getting 3, because I have
Yeah,
3
3 certifications.
certifications. I got 3 notifications a week.
Yeah, but then they also send out, hey, here's the step-by-step guide. I sent it out last year. That doesn't help immensely because still you gotta go through, and if you happen to miss a button on the state's website, you don't know where you messed up. I don't know how to fix that. We can talk about it. I'm more than happy to talk about it, but I don't think that we can come to a overall solution here. But it is a nightmare. I haven't done it for a year, but I know that it's still an issue for all of our teachers, correct? Are we still having a problem with those going to professional? Okay. Now, those that have professionals recertifying here, is there an issue, anybody having an issue getting, other than, it's a pain, but it's not.
Well, you helped me last year.
Yeah, but I mean,
We were in
it's-
bargaining.
Yeah, but I mean, and then you just give the check to Carol and you're done. But it's those new teachers who don't have the experience that have that long wait.
Well, Carol stayed on the phone with me almost an hour, walking me through it, and giving me dates that they had.
And like I said, and Vicki, if I was helping you now, I probably wouldn't be as helpful because I'm not doing it every day. But last year, it was every day I was helping 5, 6, 7 people on the phone, help them get through it. Oh, thank you, I see where I'm at now. And if we could submit it, we submitted it. They submitted it to the state. We were checking every day. There was no movement. Hopefully it does get fixed, but I don't want to hold my breath on that. We can talk about it, Deborah. I just don't know if we can, so put yes, but I don't know if we can come to something that can really help. All right, so again, I'm going to have some issues with some of the wording you put on here, feeling bullied and intimidated during the investigative process. I do realize that that is stressful for employees, okay? I've had to sit on the other side of it with people that I've known, people I've worked with for a few years, who have been on the side of the accused. I don't think that, do not believe that they are bullied. I believe they're in a situation where tensions are high, but I'm not willing to, I don't know, I don't believe that they're being bullied. So that's not something I'm willing to talk about as a district, about them feeling bullied or intimidated during the investigative process. If there's something that they may have done that violated statute, policy, or the principles of professional conduct, then that will come out during the investigation, we believe.
Maybe instead, if you don't mind me saying, not so much the word from feeling bullied and intimidated, but more of how they're being presented with,
Ultimatums.
yeah, your ultimatum for your disciplines.
Oh, okay, so we're talking about the very, very end.
Yes,
So we're not
yes.
talking necessarily the investigative process.
Well,
This is
the investigation process is always intimidating
Well,
anyway, because you're being pulled out.
But at this point, we're talking about when cause is found. I know for
Yes.
most of you aren't as familiar with this, but when cause is found, and then we move forward at that point. So we're talking not about being during the investigative process, so we're talking about at the end of and I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, I'm just making sure I understand it. At the conclusion, whenever there is cause and there's discipline, the way that they are presented the discipline?
It's the ultimatums,
Well, I would say even before that, the employee is not given a chance to rebut any findings until after a decision has been made to discipline them.
Right, yeah.
That's part of it. And then they're given ultimatums. You do this or this. You're suspended for 30 days or you give up your PSC.
And it's being sent, like I said before, persons even, what's the wording? It's, I can't think of the statute, but there's statute that states, I wish I had my paper with me, that talks about sending it to the DOE or PPS.
Yes.
Yeah. If they, I can't think of the exact wording, but anyway, they're sending it to the PPS, but they still have not had a time to rebuttal it. So therefore, which it's really not going against the statute.
Well, I know in statute it says that it has to be sent to professional practice service by this, but in this time frame.
Right, but it's still, it has to be, if it's, gosh, I'm trying to get the paper with me.
I mean, the sunshine law, the 10 days?
No, it's, oh, see, that's where it's gonna have to come into discussion. I didn't bring anything with me because I thought we were just going through yes and no, yes and no.
Okay, I mean, I tell you, if you want to talk about it, we can talk about it, but.
We can take out the words feeling bullied and
I
intimidated.
do have a problem with that, but like I said, if you're asking if we can change the process that we're currently doing, I don't see doing that, but we can discuss what you're speaking of there at the end of the
Well,
process.
like she said though, it's also endearing, but it's not, I don't really want to use the word bullied. I think it's more, to me, it's like maybe pressured, daring, And,
I've been in some of these, they aren't pressured, they're given options.
yeah.
One or option two, and if there's cause found and there's reason for discipline, either option is really, gonna be something the employee wants, but there's cause found, there's reason for discipline, here are the two options. So not every employee is even given two options. Okay, sometimes they are, but here are the two, and they have a choice that they can make. It's a choice. It's not a ultimatum.
Can we put down how, to discuss the process? Because again, I don't have everything with me. I
Yes,
don't
yeah,
feel
we can discuss
comfortable.
it, but as I said, I don't believe that we're gonna be changing our process, but we can discuss that. I'll
Okay,
be open
so
to
how
talking
can
about
we-
it.
Just,
I would.
how can we discuss the process of, employees during an investigation? Employee rights during an investigation.
All right, the next one. The uniform system of collecting money. Are there different rules at different schools?
During and at the end of an investigation.
I'm a little confused by that. I mean,
I don't think everyone's following exactly what they're supposed to be following, because isn't there something that should be already in place for how you're supposed to do it? I do know that we have to have money turned in on time. I think we can't keep the money.
yeah.
That you're, supposed to be keeping, receipts.
The receipts and-
And you have to write it up, and you have to sign it and everything, and you're supposed to be keeping all that. But I think it's the collecting of the money. I think, some people are allowing people to come in at any time during their classroom, and they're holding on to the money, and someone else before used to be collecting all the money, and now instead they're saying, no, you sit there and collect all the money instead, and some people are feeling very uncomfortable. I know at Citrus, we do it very well.
And
We do it very well.
you say, I'm willing to discuss it. I'm gonna have to find
Yeah.
out exactly what the written procedure is. And if it's not being followed at each school, I think that's something that we can discuss. And if it's not being followed, we can say, hey, this is the procedure, follow it. It's not something I realized was an issue. So, yeah, we can.
It's
we can
become an
discuss it.
issue in some of the sites, particularly when they've gotten new, bookkeepers.
Okay.
And the other bookkeeper was doing it this way, and everyone was comfortable with the way that it was done, and now.
I will say, that whatever the uniform way is, we're gonna have some people, you all know this, that aren't gonna be comfortable with whatever
No,
that
I
is. You know
understand
what I
that,
mean? But this, if we find out there's a way it's supposed to be done, that's, you know what I mean?
But employees get fired over mishandling of money, and you got employees who are not comfortable doing it.
Fine. So I will look and see if we can discuss it, I'll look and see if there is a process that should be in place.
You look at Citrus, we do it great.
No, but I'll look into that one, Deborah, and see if there is something, and I'll report back, okay? So what are we talking about here, the comp time for,
Okay, so like, comp time would be, there are some districts that, if teachers have duties beyond, the school day, that they will, like on a half day, or, let them come, leave a half an hour
so we're
early.
talking more like flex time for
Flex
teachers?
time.
Flex time, okay, comp time's a little bit different, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, but flex time, I mean, that's, I know different administrators have done that before. I've never, I can't say everyone had, I know the ones I've worked for have. If, you've stayed late and helped with this, and you say, hey, listen, I need to leave 15 minutes earlier, I need to leave when the bus is due to go to this appointment. I've never really personally had an issue with that. I don't know if people around the table have, we can discuss it. But as far as contract language, I'm not sure, but we can talk about it, and I can put some stuff out there, see what I can find out that's going on, okay?
Isn't it also too,
That should be changed from comp time to flex time, though, right?
Yeah, you can change that to flex
Yeah.
time,
How can teachers get flex time?
flex time.
Yeah. All right,
I can't even.
talk about Alice, all right, here we go. That's it, I'll wait till they get done talking. Okay. We need to go back to something, or?
No, I was.
Okay, no,
I'm sorry, I was
sure.
trying to figure out what you were saying.
That's okay, Deb. All right, as far as the Alice one goes, we update as much as possible. That's gonna have to be, that can't come from, that's gonna have to be the administration at the school or even the teachers in their red, green folders. That with that information, hey, here's a map of the school. We're doing what we can now to try to identify places in the school better. Example, because you don't know, the two schools I worked at are very confusing, IMS and CHS. If you haven't worked there, you're not going to figure out where you're going. It's just true. Some of your schools are very well marked. We did Alice training at this Lofton school the very first day we did it. The very first time we did it, the staff members were great. They brought up some concerns to Lofton. Boom, before we left, she'd already had a solution to the problems. So that communication is what's really going to make the difference with that. So that, as far as procedures, when we come back, there's just so you all know, year 2, there's going to be a second e-learning tool, like in Alice Part 2. But as far as updates, don't ignore me because you're retired. But as far as updates, that's going to have to be school by school, teacher by teacher. As you talked about, your support staff that's moving around from places, or even the subs that might be going from room to room. For us to say teachers must have this in their red and green folder, and if they don't, it could lead to discipline. I mean, is that what we're talking about?
No, I think,
so.
I think this is more of a conversation issue. We have some support who feel like they're outside the bubble because they're not invited to the general staff meetings to hear what the information given out. And
they're not invited because they're riding a bus or something like that?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
And so they feel like they are not as knowledgeable about the procedures, because particularly, I mean, they're concerned about the safety of the students and the safety of themselves. I mean, I've been counting and praying every day that I can make it to May 31st without getting shot since before Christmas, this last shooting. But I'm just saying.
I mean, we can discuss it. We can. I'm happy to talk about Alice. You all know that. But as far as updated procedures and routines, there's not necessarily an update to talk about, but we can. If you want to discuss that with support and subs, we can do that. And I can go through some of the steps that we've taken.
I just think, yeah, there's a concern out
Okay.
there.
I'm sure there is, yeah.
The update, Alice, you're not going to sit there and put us in a room.
No. This is the e-learning tool.
Oh, I'm telling you what.
Online. You're retired, so you don't need to talk.
No,
about it.
I mean.
I know what I heard that. No, this is this would be for those returning employees. It's a second part, like an update. And for new employees, would have to go through what everybody went through this last year, but should be a lot fewer people each year to do that with. A lot less disruptive.
But our employees are not going to be shot with false little bullets by police people.
Nope. Will not happen during an Alice drill. That is not. Our Alice drills are to instruct, to train, to prepare. It's not to scare. That's why how many times did we say this is a drill, this is a drill, this is a drill, for that exact reason. That we have, you can ask any administrator here, we have discussed that to the nth degree. That it's not meant to scare anybody. I know people get scared during it, and hopefully the practice will alleviate some of that and will just become training.
Well, I understand, but some of it's gotten silly. where they're actually shooting blanks in the class, in the
I-
hallways, and they're shooting them
I know,
with fake bullets and.
I've been updated on some of those in other states and what people have done, and that's not what we do here.
Amy, you have something to add?
I do. I just got a phone call probably, I don't know, a couple weeks ago. Teacher who is within our county, of course, not my school, but who is in an elementary school, and as they did their Alice drill and the kids went out in the wrong direction, the person outside the door said, "Oh, you're all dead," to fifth graders, which is kind of.
Says, was this the teacher said that?
No, I didn't ask who the individual was in charge, but I just know it wasn't, no, not the student's teacher, not the student's teacher. As her
Somebody was in
students.
the hallway.
This is what happened.
Hang on a second,
Teacher-
hang on a second. Can you talk with me after we get done?
Certainly,
If you don't mind, because I'd like to
yes.
find out what's going on there. Because that, as she brought, that is not what this is supposed to be about. It's not supposed to be scaring people or anything like that. When we did the training, some of you, you were in the training with me. It's not about that, it's about empowering people and giving them the options and showing them that they can do these options and that they can do them
I
successfully.
mean, I will
So-
say, I think Alice is a lot better than what we had before.
So if you don't mind, Amy,
No.
I would like to, that's not what that's supposed to be. And that's the last thing I want is people feeling that. There's enough, we have fire drills, people get nervous about that. When I went back to IMS, we had a fire drill the first time after we had a fire, there were kids nervous. You gotta kind of work through that. Last thing we want is for, after a full year, someone to say something and bring us back to square one with that, and that is the last thing I want. So absolutely, if ever, again, back to this, we can absolutely talk about it. I'll be more than happy to do it. If you don't mind, Amy, I'd like to find out what's going on, because we can't be having that.
Okay,
Where we at?
Question.
31 is,
Okay, do I need to erase all this rebuttal from earlier then in this, or do you want that left? Under, like right here? All that?
yeah, we don't need, we don't need that. Okay, so that's about us getting information.
Now, you say throughout the year,
Every time you get new hires.
oh, I
It's
don't.
gotta be a way, it's just like when we sit there and get a union member, you guys sit there and, get that, we give you that information right away.
No. I said, I'm not HR, I'm trying to picture how they would do this. Especially in the summer. If they get hired into May and June,
We're gonna need to know it before they come back to school.
and I'm
and
saying,
all this.
some of them, I don't want to say a lot of them, there's some of them that don't come. And we do run into that. So I'll have to check with HR to find out about that one. We can talk about it, but,
Mainly, as soon as you know where they're gonna go.
And what are
As
we
soon as
do-
you have a school,
and what information are we talking about?
we need to know their name and what school they're gonna be at, their general information, same thing that you can get access to right now, if I was to just pull up the person's name.
I get access to a lot of stuff, that's.
Well, but I mean, I
But
get their
school-
phone numbers, I get their names, I get their address, that's what I get from every
Okay, all
hire.
right. So that's what we're talking about? Yeah, all right. Yeah, we can talk about that. I'll have to
And
get with
what
Susie
school
and
they're
see,
at.
because it's gonna be a little different this summer from what I understand. I'm not involved in it, so I'll have to find out exactly
Because
what
they're
they're
not doing the
doing.
new teacher orientation.
I heard
so-
that a few weeks ago,
Yeah.
so, it's not my world anymore, so I'll have to get with her on that, but yeah, we can discuss that one. Yeah, we can discuss 32. I didn't realize that had been in there for that long. Well, look at that. Let's see. Just in general, how many, what's?
They
the-
get 10.
No, I know that. What's the number? Do we have a number, or we want to wait till later?
I think we're in discussion.
Okay, all right. Just curious if we knew now or not.
Okay.
That's all of them, correct? Okay, just want to make sure. Now we ready to go back to the supplements, or?
Right.
All right.
Okay.
All right, Val, back up.
So that, we're right there, down
Right there.
where you said,
Right there.
D1
Discussion.
discussion.
All right. Middle school coaches for cross country. As I said, we're asking to take the intramural supplements that are being used currently at the schools, instead of having intramurals, having 2 middle school cross-country coaches at each middle school. The current cost for the intramurals is $514 per coach, and the cost that we're asking for the supplement for the cross-country coach would be $746. So $232 per coach.
What?
That's your per school, I apologize. Per
Oh,
school.
I was gonna say,
No. So in total, you're looking at $1,860 additional supplement. And Mr. Herman can tell you, even the cross-country, football cross-country, there's a lot of kids that can participate in that. It's an activity that does not require a lot of equipment. And this would offer our kids, to be able to compete against other middle schools in other sports, fairly safe, not concussions or things like that as much as you would in football or even
First
basketball.
one across the line wins.
Yeah, that's it. You get a winner, and male, female, and then everybody else, you're kind of racing against perhaps your own time.
Yeah, it's 1816. The amount was.
1,000?
Yeah,
Yeah.
1,816.
Thank you. Sometimes I don't.
Yeah.
It's 18. It's average 1856 for all the coaches. That'd be the increase amount of 1856. Total increase over what's now being used.
Ms. Connor?
Sorry.
intramural middle schools, or what?
Usually we do volleyball, basketball, sometimes football,
Flag football.
flag football. Yeah.
So,
No, only intra, we do
So
school.
So deleting intramurals, which one?
yeah.
Not adding to it, not keeping intramurals. This would be in lieu of intramurals, or as you said, deleting intramurals and adding cross-country.
And this is just
How
for
many
middle
kids?
school?
Yes, just middle school.
We added up volleyball, football.
Not volleyball,
No, this is intramurals, I think. Is that what you're talking about, intramural
Yeah, I'm
volleyball?
trying to think about how many kids are in all 3 of those practices on it lasts about 2 weeks. I'd say it's about maybe 70 kids.
Each session, from whenever I was there as a dean at IMS, the sessions did not last very long for the kids, whereas this would be a season. It would start, without getting into all the nuts and bolts, because that's not my part of it, start at the beginning of September, and they'd end like towards the middle, the end of October. You're talking about 6 weeks of these kids who maybe aren't football players, aren't volleyball players, but they can run a little bit, and they can be involved in a team activity at the school. I think most of you know, when you get kids involved in something, you have a better chance of getting the discipline down. You hopefully have a little more help, or maybe tell the coach about what's going on, that type of thing.
Do we have anyone right now that's doing the intramurals that will now no longer be doing it?
I have 3 coaches, but it's not always, I'm always looking for volunteers for that. It's not an easy, I definitely have coaches that, and that's just my school, are ready to go with cross country.
So those ones still would be doing something?
They're not the same, yeah, they wouldn't be the same.
When I was at IMS as a dean, we did have trouble finding people who would do the intramurals, because you're responsible for.
Is it required?
It's at the end of the year, no. It's just, I think it was an idea to try to get more kids involved, because we're always trying to
Yeah.
get kids involved in things.
There were tryouts, and from my understanding with cross-country, I don't
Not
believe there's.
competitive, no.
Yeah, this is gonna be, as he said, with cross-country, the first one across the line wins, but that doesn't mean you aren't getting better each
No.
week. And you're part of the team.
And also, I think I had about 80 to 100 kids on my cross country team this year. There's a lot of kids that go out for that.
So you're saying instead of putting the intramural, you're gonna have, can you tell me how you look at them? Because you're gonna have what,
cross-country and have, the total, and then how, underneath that, put how many coaches they're allowed, and each one's tell me how it's gonna look.
On the contract, it'll look just like it does for the other ones. It'll say, like when it says,
The other ones right now are, looks like it's just one person
Yeah.
each. So it's
but
gonna
but
be,
what we're saying is that it's gonna be 2 coaches per school. Like middle school football has, is it 5? 4, 5? In the wall.
There's not a number on the contract.
Yeah, there's not a number on the contract. We're just telling you that would, you know.
so you're just, so you're gonna put 1856.
No. It's gonna say 746.
Oh, okay,
What I'm giving you is the total amount that it would cost
I gotcha.
for the district, the
So what
total
they're
increase.
gonna, what they're gonna do is delete intramurals and insert cross-country coach
Right.
and put 746.
Yes. So that makes sense?
Gotcha, yes.
Yeah, I was just giving you the total increase it would cost. Yeah, I just kind of cutting to the chase, I hate to say, but it'd be 2 per school, and that would be the total.
Okay, I think here's the confusion,
Yeah.
Valerie,
Yes, ma'am.
is where you have $232
Per coach?
per coach, it should be 746.
Well, that's just the increase.
Yeah.
I'm giving all those numbers.
It's just,
Okay. See, that's, but that's, I think, the confusion we have.
Could be put per coach increase.
Okay.
746 per coach.
That's the
I
total
thought it was
cost.
2 coaches.
Okay, okay, it's $746 per coach with 2 per school.
Correct.
it's just deleting intramurals and putting instead the
Correct.
word.
Cross-country, and
Changing
then,
the pay, right?
and then the money over on the side would say.
The same amount, the
746.
746 instead of
Yes.
514.
And
Now, like I
that's-
said, I just wanted to give you the total additional cost.
Gotcha,
That was-
thank you.
Yes, Amy?
That's per, right? The way
Yes.
it reads now, each is per,
Yeah,
so we're
they-
talking 2, so each
Yes.
coach would get the 7.
Yes.
Okay.
I know they're all listed, there's not a number listed next to any of them, so, but we're just telling you how much, what it would be.
Do you like that? Does that make sense?
Can I just, for clarification's sake, eliminating the intramural supplement doesn't preclude a staff member who wants to voluntarily run intramurals as a club or something like that, right? So those kids who are participating in those kinds of programs might still have access to non-competitive sports. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we're just
Well,
removing the
and-
supplement.
And you could use your school-based activity supplement
For that.
for the intramural. I mean,
If
I mean, that's up to
if
the
the school chose to
administration.
do that, there is
Right.
that supplement. Thing is that, like you said, cross-country is gonna be interscholastic, so it had to be,
no, I understand it, but I'm just saying,
Mhm.
we have a school-based activity supplement
It's discretionary.
that's discretionary, that the principal can utilize. So if they wanted to utilize that, it's on page 50, they could use that to,
Bless you.
to what, so. I think we can come to agreement on that.
okay, thank you, I appreciate that.
So that would be our first TA.
Yep.
So TA number 1,
Where do I put that?
down at, below that,
Yeah,
put
definitely.
TA number 1. And then put, delete middle school intramural
11, right.
supplements.
It's on top of this.
Intramural supplement. There should be an A after, yeah. And add. What do you call it? Interest,
Interscholastic.
just put cross-country coaches,
Yeah,
cross-country coach
interscholastic is the.
with
It's not my word,
a
but
$746 supplement. And then put 2 per school.
still would like my intramurals, and I'll look for a way with that activity to pay if I have somebody that
Yeah.
wants to do that. I mean, I do like to have that option for kids to do non-competitive and,
Yeah, I agree. And I think that as you know, we're talking with the cross-country, you know, there's gonna be one winner, but you can always get better, you know, beating against yourself, so to speak. And it is something, even if you're not athletic, you can participate in that. And I do firmly believe, and I coached together for years, that kids that are involved in those types of things more likely to be, you know, more upbeat, more involved in other things. So, thank you. It's a
So I
good
need
step
to
right
add
there.
that.
Yeah, that's just-
Good for kids.
Yeah, good, yeah.
So we have our first TA.
Very productive day.
Good afternoon.
Mr. Herman, you need to leave? He's got to go to Tampa. He's got a teacher being recognized.
Yes, I was gonna go. So Jimmy's going instead for me.
Okay.
So he's,
I'm very excited, Teacher of the Year for the news and education.
Oh, nice. Tampa Bay Times?
DNIE.
Times.
Yeah.
Yes.
Tell him I say congratulations, Rob. Thank you. I appreciate it. Drive safe.
Thank you.
Tell him I'm sorry I couldn't make it.
Thank you.
Herman, tell him I'm sorry I couldn't make it.
Okay.
All right, so we're going to just, Kirby, it's her presentation.
Okay, I'm
So
gonna
this
send-
is D2 discussion.
And I actually just sent my, I
Where's
have
that?
just a real short PowerPoint.
I'm sorry.
No, it's fine.
Lynn, if you want, I can pull that and connect it to you.
Right, you're okay, but I-
And just, this is school
And this is
psychologist.
quick. It's just so be easier for them to have visual,
She's got this short PowerPoint to kind of help with.
just for visual.
School psychologist and speech language pathologist supplements.
Jeff, you probably remember the history of when those changed. Okay. Because I'd asked around about it.
It'll just change the look of it for
Yeah.
kids.
Okay.
It's all right, Val. I promise it's okay. Don't close it, leave it just like that, don't close it or else.
Okay, should I save
And
it,
then-
like to this point or something?
Relax, it's all good, Val.
Okay, okay. All
They
right.
just moving around, I know.
Speech language with pathologist.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll have it up here, see.
You can just put Lynn Kirby PowerPoint.
And I can share with us. So, way back when, in 2006, 2007, that was actually when I first became a principal, I remember going to every meeting that we ever went to, and this, I can't remember exactly when I started on CCEA, but I know all we talked about at that time were budget cuts. And it was constantly, we were trying to figure out what we could do without to make ends meet. So Deborah, you'll certainly remember this time. Anybody who's been around for a while would remember that. And one of the
That was when
things,
Duke left. And we
it
took a
was
10 million
that, and then the recession on
Yeah,
top of it.
yeah, the housing.
We took a $9 million cut from Duke.
Exactly. And so I think it was that, the recession on top of it. I remember that's when we lost curriculum specialists, we lost support staff, we lost really everybody and everything that we could do to condense. And one of the things that was condensed or was looked at and streamlined a little bit more were the supplements. So among those supplements were two that I'm going to talk about today. And you may wonder, why am I talking about just school psychologists and speech and language pathologists when everybody in our system deserves more than what we're getting for the work that we do on a day-to-day basis. So that's an acknowledgement that I think we all, everybody in this room agrees with. We wish that there was the money available to pay people, not even what they're worth, because there is no money for that, but a more competitive rate for the work that we do. I mean, we're all in that together. But this particular group is a little bit different than, well, I think anybody in this room. The skills and what they have to have makes them a little bit different. I will tell you, there's two other groups that are under my oversight, occupational therapists and physical therapists, that would also fall into this, but they're not part of this bargaining unit. So we're not gonna talk about them today. So I just want you to know, it's not like it's just these two groups, but I have it like a total of 4. So basically what I want to share with you is just a couple of quick things. Our school psychologists and our speech and language pathologists are under the instructional pay scale. So they're considered teachers first. When they come to us, they start out on teacher salaries. And then they have supplements on top of that. Minimum requirements for their positions are a master's degree. Well, we have other positions that have that as well. My position has that as well. But on top of that, there's also a licensure degree or certification or a license, however you want to phrase it, that they are required to have. And because of their licensure, we can never get a substitute for their position. So if I was in a principal in school, the district could send somebody over to take my place. If I were a classroom teacher, they could send, or a substitute could be found to take my place. If I were a support staff in any capacity, a substitute could be found to take my place. That is not the case with school psychologists or speech and language pathologists. We cannot get them a substitute because you cannot do that job unless you have the licensure and the certification. So it's very different. And what's unique about them, because of that, they're not eligible for out of field, and they're not eligible for the critical shortage that the state says that other areas are. So they're just in a unique position. We're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place with them because we cannot get substitutes. So we wind up resorting to contract work, and contract work is more expensive, and it's taking money away from all of us. So that being said, I don't want to go into a lot of detail, but you all are very familiar, and I know this is small, and I do apologize. I'm not going to read the whole thing to you, but you're very familiar with the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas bill and the requirements of Senate Bill 7026. And among those requirements are for us to do a better job of identifying our students that have mental wellness or behavioral health or whatever phrase we want to use, but have those concerns and needs. And within that system, we not only have to identify those students, we have to provide levels of support. And so our levels of support and our system, our district, and working in conjunction with school-based personnel, wrote a mental wellness plan, or a plan to help meet the letter of the law with Senate Bill 7026 and use the resources that we already have, and then collaborate with outside resources to support the needs of the students in our schools. Among those levels of support are school psychologists. So what we've said is, okay, teachers, support staff, administrators, and school counselors, you're going to do what you can to take care of most of the tier 1 needs. If you liken this to an MTSS process. Then for our tier 2 process, okay, we're going to be reaching out. Our school counselors may be able to help some students with tier 2, but our social workers are also going to help with tier 2 with small group instruction, depending on what the students' needs are. And some school psychologists are helping with tier 2. But once you get to tier 3, it's certainly school psychologists are involved with those students, and then we're referring them to outside agencies as well, and we're collaborating with them. So I say all this to say, our school psychologists have been an integral part of our schools. They've been an integral part of our threat assessment teams, of our problem-solving teams, and our MTSS process for academics and behavior, and now social and emotional and mental wellness as well as all of the evaluation duties that we ask of them, and for them to sit in on 504s and sit in on IEP meetings and do the evaluation for all those students. So maybe that add, what I'm saying is everybody's had more added to their plate, but this is another group that has also had that added to their plate. So in the mental wellness plan, some other things that we identified as needs were to identify a program specialist. Well, the district was able to hire Melissa Bowling, and she is over in student services, and she is the go-to person that is funneling all of the referrals to her, and then she makes sure they get out to other organizations, like it was the centers, or it is Lighthouse, or it is Life Streams, some of those organizations that are helping to support our kids. So we have Melissa Bowling, we have that program specialists in place. We wanted to increase the number of social workers so that our social workers, like our school psychologists, only had 2 schools. Because if you're working between schools, you can barely manage 2, but you really struggle with managing 3. And we've been able to find those for social workers. And the social workers are kind of interesting because you would think that that would be just as specialized, but their certifications are a little bit broader than what our school psychologists are. So what they put in the plan was for us to add to our 10 school psychologists by 2. And those people would be helping to support the mental wellness. So they weren't sure exactly how they would divvy up the workloads, but we knew they needed more support than what we had. And knew that, okay, let us find those psychologists and then we'll decide how we can best balance the needs of our county.
Okay, let me stop you for a second.
Please,
How many school psychologists do we have?
we have 10.
We have 10. So we're wanting to add 2 more?
Okay, let me back up and say, we already have permission to add 2 more, not under my department, not through IDEA or Part 1 funding, but strictly through the mental wellness plan.
Okay,
And the purpose of that was going to be able to do a better job of identifying our students with mental wellness needs. That was going to be, that is their focus, if we ever get to hire them, and to provide those tier 3 supports. So basically, they're trying to find people who might have strong counseling backgrounds, but honestly, at this point, we would take anybody and then possibly replace a school psychologist that we currently have that has strong counseling skills. And, you know, we haven't figured all that out because this is the problem. We posted these 2 positions in September, and I've had 0 qualified applicants, not 1. Add on to that, I have 2 psychologists who it was approved on Tuesday, I guess it was just 2 nights ago, that they're retiring. Dr. Purdy is leaving us after all these years. She's been with us since 2004. She's been our psychologist at Crest. She's been our BCBA. That's a certified behavior analyst, a board certified behavior analyst. She's leaving us. And then the second one is Mike Ridley, who actually was formerly retired from Connecticut. Came down, we were able to entice him to come and work for us. He's been phenomenal. He's worked over in the Crystal River area. He was the volleyball coach, I think, at Crystal River High for a while too. But they're both retiring this year. So my net, I'm now looking for 4. And I know that I'll have another school psychologist, Mr. Brett Holland. I'm fairly certain will retire at the end of next school year. He agreed to stay on for me next year, hallelujah. But I'm very concerned about that. He's our lead psychologist. So my thing is, I've had 0 applicants, so I don't want to belabor the point that much. So I want to tell you what recruiting efforts we've done. We've advertised these positions on school psychology websites. We have paid for recruiting booths at 2 major school psychologist conferences. With the Florida Association of School Psychologists, we paid, that was back in November, had somebody sit at a table and a booth to try to recruit. Got 0 applicants from it. Then in February, we sent about half of our school psychologists to the national conference in Atlanta. We paid to have somebody sit at a booth the entire time, and had 3 interested people until they saw the pay scale. And they said, thanks, but no thanks. Additionally, Sarah Hebert, who's one of our school psychologists, she is our co-lead. She has actually gone on 2 of the recruiting trips to Pennsylvania and to Ohio to try to recruit for us. Had people come up and talk to her about it, and wound up having 3 school psychologists that she thought she had were interested, and they wound up going to other counties in Florida. I can tell you that it's pretty devastating to think of the impact of now having school psychologists going to have on us. I will tell you that last school year, we had 3 school psychologists that interned with us, and we would have hired probably all 3 of them, certainly 2 out of the 3 in a heartbeat, and none of them wanted to stay with us. The irony is actually our last 5 hires have been former interns, so we do a great job of recruiting our interns when we can. And with that being said, I do have a conditional contract with our current intern, hallelujah, Sarah Nunley, is actually going to drive from Hernando County every day next year and come and work for us. And there's a significant pay difference if she goes and works in Hernando County, so I'm thrilled to have her. So at this point in time, I am anticipating having 3 openings. And I can tell you that there are school psychology openings all over our state. Sarah was sharing with me that I believe it was Broward County, but I may have that incorrect, but I thought she said, West Palm, Broward? West Palm?
Yes.
40 openings for school psychologists in Broward County alone. So if you had your option of coming to the state of Florida and teaching in Broward County, and making $20,000 more a year to start off with, or Citrus County, you might want to go to the sunny beaches of Broward. So we can't fix that. So that's, I guess, all I have on school psychologists. I will tell you that we did bandy about some numbers, but I'm not prepared to share those with you. Ms. Himmel is not in town this week, and we wanted to get her approval in a direction, from her, because I would hate to say, hey, we're thinking this, and then we go to her, and she says, oh, no, I don't see how we can do that. So we will talk about that.
Who are you talking to?
Mrs. Himmel,
Oh.
and get direction from her as far as, she would have a better sense.
Okay.
As far as even a number to start with. So please know I'm not assuming that I'm negotiating with Mrs. Himmel, but I need a starting place to start with her before coming to you, and then we would negotiate exactly what that could be.
But we did want to come here at the beginning and say this is something that we're.
It's it's an essential need for us.
Okay, do you think that you're gonna have that discussion before our next meeting?
I would like to
We're
think
going to
so.
talk about our next meeting too, because that's something that's come up since.
Okay,
Okay. I would like to say yes.
I
That
believe we will.
okay.
I did share with Mr. Mullen, and he felt that Miss Himmel will recognize the need, and would be happy to talk to me about it. So speech and language pathologists, I'm not going to go through as much detail in. They have basically the same, the same licensure, the same certification. Again, I can't get a sub for them, and they can't get out of field for them. And I just wanted to share with you some numbers of what we've paid through contract services. So these are people that are not part of the negotiating team. And so just to give you a sense, 2016-17 it was about $173,000 we paid for contract services. Last year it was about $238,000, and we're going to surpass that this year. We're at $185 through the beginning of April, with all of April and all of May to go. So I fully expect that to be closer to $260 this year. That's money that's going right out our doors. They're not, they're great. I love our contracts. Couldn't live without them. So I'm not trying to belittle them in any way, shape, or form. But boy, anytime we can have a direct hire, I would much prefer to do that. So that's just kind of background information for you. Again, I do apologize not having hard figures to be able to come to you and say, hey, this is what we're seeing. But we have done some legwork and looked around at surrounding counties, and I don't even, the numbers that we're gonna bring to you will not make us equal anywhere close to where they are, but at least we might be a little bit more competitive and might be able to do a little bit more. So,
Do you know
yeah.
if the state is doing anything because of the shortage? Like one time when we were short on math teachers, everyone in the state of Florida, they put something towards that to give an incentive more. Do you know if the state is doing anything like
I
that?
have not been told of anything.
Have
that
they
they're
reached
doing.
out? I know Thomas Kennedy is always, very visible and always talking to our state representative. Is that something?
And we absolutely have, we have made them aware of this issue on a casual basis, but if we wind up coming forward to you with numbers, and if this is something you're interested in talking about further, I will absolutely be talking to each of the board members about, a proposed number to start with.
It just seems like that there's such a great need in this, and it looks like it's a great need in the whole state of Florida too. And it is part of the Marjorie Stone
Absolutely is.
Douglas thing, as well as it's a very important need. I mean, I just think that would be a top priority at the state level, both in House and the Senate.
And I can tell you, Sarah Hubert has been phenomenal in recruiting, and she has reached out to specific schools in the Northeast area because this is a problem across the country. It's not just a Florida problem. And the only place that seems to have an overabundance, and it's probably because of the number of schools that have school psychology programs in them, is in the Northeast. Like as an example, this year, we're only going to graduate 250 school psychologists in the state of Florida. That's not going to come close to touching the needs in the state of Florida, even if we got to keep every single one. So we do have, I can say, we do have 2 interns for school psychology interns lined up for next school year. They spend a whole year interning, and so we are thrilled that that's the case. We have gotten great psychologists. If you go backwards, Catherine Yoho was an intern, Jessica Edstrom was an intern, Randy Goodbread was an intern, and I'm leaving somebody out. The last 4 people were interns. So,
And how many people are getting, I know you said 2 of them are getting ready to retire. How many are getting,
the 3,800,
yes,
4.
thank you.
4.
4.
One, after the 2 retire, there are 4 left.
There are 4 left.
And so we have, and that's another problem. So then we'll have our other that are new, that'll make less money than the person sitting next to them. You know, it was
Right.
one of those things we had to do back in 2007 because we had to do it. But it wound up, I think, being somewhat short-sighted. So,
And as we looked around, thank you, Lynn, I appreciate, as we looked around at other districts, they all had, not all, but most of them had almost a line item as we do for school psychologists. The supplement was different than it was for others, because obviously they saw the need to attempt to recruit and keep those. And Deborah, I know that you know the history of when the supplement changed, so yes, we do have 4 that currently have the 3,800, and the remaining ones will have the 2,400.
And for people who were not aware, we had the supplement was 3,800, and then when we had to make a change, the people who were already receiving that 3,800 kept it. And then the new hires were the ones that got the $2,400 supplement. That was just,
I want to say that was an excellent presentation.
I mean, I don't think people realize, because, I mean, yes, teachers, oh my goodness, and there's shortages in every area,
Yeah.
but what makes this one different is I can't just go and say, you're a great substitute, I'll put you in place. I can't go do part of your job.
And so whenever they are out, we have, either the services aren't being done at that time, or as SLPs, we have to contract out. You saw the amount of money that, as you said, leaves the front door, that we wish we could keep in-house.
It's sad because even with the supplement, a higher supplement, it's still not enough. That's why it's too bad that's something that the state can't do.
Yeah. Which we did, as you said, with critical shortage, I think it was science and math back in the day.
Yeah.
Well, you know, whenever I first came here, that's what it was, science, I don't remember the amounts. Science teachers
I
got
don't
this,
either,
math
I
teachers got
missed
this.
it.
Me too.
I was already a teacher.
I was out of field. I was out of field for math, so I didn't get it. But I do remember that back then.
And that's just the irony is they will never be labeled critical shortage because there's nobody out of field. The way, this is my understanding, the way critical shortage areas are defined by the number of out of field teachers in that area. Well, there'll never be anybody out of field because you can't be.
But you think with all the you know, the
Right.
hardening of the
Vacancy.
schools now, you think that that would be something that they could still,
And I would like
the
to-
safety.
Okay.
Can I ask, are you, looking, because with the SLPs, I know that there are like tiers of, credentials.
Yes.
Are you looking at something that's like a
SLPs?
tier, yes, that's looking like a tiered set of supplements for the SLPs, or are you thinking one flat?
We haven't gotten that far.
Okay.
I can tell you just basically what we're referring to. There's SLPs, so speech language pathologists, then there's also speech language pathologist assistants. And we actually have one SLPA, they call them, working with us in our county. So what that means is that if I'm an SLP and I am at Canto Primary School, my SLPA can also provide therapy for students while I'm on campus. So she can provide therapy, we don't have to be in the same room, but I'm overseeing her therapy. And we're legally, I can tell you, we're also a sparsity district, which also allows us to use SLPAs, because we've almost always had at least one.
Is an SLPA, they have a bachelor's degree in speech and
Yes.
language?
They have a bachelor's degree in something, but it may or may not be communication disorders.
That's
So
what my
some-
degree is in that, so I was wondering like.
You would like to talk. Although we like it where you are.
I use it a lot in pre-K, but no, I was just wondering, is there any incentive for people with a bachelor's degree to go back You know, like if that situation were to come up.
To be an, I
To have a
can
master.
tell you that we have, I'll just do an advertisement real quickly, because we have an, Krista Rowland is our lead speech language pathologist, and she does a phenomenal job, and we've been blessed. Again, I got to hire an intern, we just got her through all her Cs, and she's done a phenomenal job. We have one at LaFinto Primary School that she's supervised for the last 2 years in different capacities, and she's graduating, and then she's graduating with her C's. She has her C's this year. I get them all mixed up. I'll be honest with you.
Whatever she was supposed to be, we were celebrating.
Yes, it's all great news. So, and then our SLPA actually just got accepted into the same program that Vicki Lofton's SLP was in. So we're excited because she's going to support. And part of the reason why I think they accepted her is because of the level of support we've been able to provide. So I think we've got, in both cases, we have extremely high professionalism and just top-notch internships for those two groups that I've been blown away with what they're able to do. So as far as levels of that, that's a good idea. I just hadn't come up with it. Thank you.
So just some about it, as we talked about, you know, we've looked around at several counties throughout the state, and a lot of them, they're on the instructional charter scale, but then there is supplement for this. Specifically, as she said, especially with our school psychologists, they have to come out, they have to have this, they have to have that licensure. And as she said, they never qualified by the state standards as a critical shortage area. And Vicki, to your point, you would think that they would realize that with everything that's going on. Last February 14th through today, we've seen an uptick in the kids with the need for that mental health services. And, you know, if we can't, we have 4 that we have to try to hire, or 3 right now. We have 1 hopefully who's going to graduate.
Oh, sure.
All right, so I'm gonna go with 3. We got 3, I can imagine districts the size of Hillsborough, Pinellas, Orange, Miami-Dade, how many they possibly need. So I mean, it is an issue. That's what, you know, we talked about this at length, and so we wanted to talk about back when this was changed, you know, that was what needed to be done at that time. I think that times have changed. I think we can all agree since then. Financially always for the better, but times have changed and the needs have changed some. So we'll come back with some numbers, but we did want to bring that up as a definite interest that we were interested in.
And just to clarify, they wouldn't qualify for the degree supplement.
Oh, yes, they get that.
That.
So they automatically get that.
Position supplement
Is
what we're.
Is what we're talking about, yes. Because in the case of school psychologists, many of them have specialist degrees, that's an example. So it may not be just a master's.
Right.
The one that's retiring is actually a doctorate.
Oh, she's losing.
We're losing her.
We're losing her, yeah.
She's not losing anything, she's going home to play. And be a world traveler, yes.
Okay,
So do I need to put something on this?
that we will come back to this. We will come.
So do you do TA or?
Just say that, no, just say that we're gonna come back and discuss it. A TA is an agreement that we've met agreement, so basically, we're done with that. And we'll have to do, we'll do paperwork and sign off on it. And then that will go on next, the ratification ballot, so that we just go ahead and make an agreement that we had that discussion. Okay, so the next thing was the ROTC. Well, let me stop here for a second. It's 3:30,
Okay.
okay?
I lost track of that.
So I'm trying to, I've got people who have browbeaten me that I have to let them leave. Before 4 o'clock. So, I was thinking that we could skip the ROTC one and go ahead and do a temporary agreement on the retraining money.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
make that number 2.
Okay.
And then you said you need to talk about, we have some dates
Yeah.
available.
What
And
dates
read-
do you have available? We can start with that. The 18th, I was planning, I had something that came up that I'm not able to get out of. Yeah, so that
So,
happens,
and we have some dates that are available because we're getting toward the end of school.
I know.
And we need to figure out whether we're going to be full days or half days and things like that. So do you wanna do the TA on the retraining today
Yes.
so that y'all can go ahead
Yes.
with, okay.
Good with that.
So she needs to.
Okay, so TA number 2. CCA agrees to putting $5,000 from the retraining line item for mentoring.
Are we training?
From the retraining, from the retraining line item towards mentoring.
Is it just for mentoring?
Yep, that's what it was, that's what they asked for. The retraining needs to be capitalized, please.
So I guess I need to ask too for clarification. I really need to know about since you're not having the NTO anymore, what they're doing with the mentors.
I'll find out. What do you mean, since we're not having the teacher orientation, what they're doing with the?
Well, I mean, are they still doing the mentoring the same?
I will have to check on that. I don't have an answer for that one right now, but I'll find out.
Need to put anything else?
I'll find out from Wendy, and I'll let you know. A little bit out of that world right now,
So what was your question?
He's gonna check.
so.
Okay.
Mentors are being done the same.
Okay. So what you're saying is we need to cancel the,
Yes, I had something that came up today on the 18th, I'm not able to maneuver around. What other dates do you all have available?
oh, I just happened to have those.
Everybody, let me get your calendar as well. Okay, great, okay. Everybody, yeah.
Okay, so we're canceling the April 28th, April 18th. Okay, so we have April 24th.
I will not be here.
Okay. Cross that out.
I won't be here the rest of that week. Conference.
April 29th.
That Monday?
Yes, sir.
She's just in.
I have that 5D training.
We have 5D
They have,
training.
okay, 5D training, so they won't be able
The
to.
29th and 30th.
So,
So half has to be out one and half has to be out the other.
yeah.
May 1st, Wednesday.
I'm okay May 1st. You okay May 1st? That's okay May 1st.
Okay, so then the question would be, is it gonna be an afternoon or all day?
I'll leave that up to you. I'm available that whole day. Are you? Lynn's never here anymore.
I am available, but I'm wondering about having been out of your schools the day before. Would you have a better chance of making it here for half day, I guess is my question.
For who?
Doesn't matter.
Because we're not gonna finish everything regardless of what we do.
Is that when testing starts up? I apologize, I'm not in that, so I don't.
Yes, I mean, definitely is, I would think for
I
testing.
only know when my
might be
children
some
have their own
afternoon.
tests, so I,
My testing's not too
okay.
What's the May second?
Mine's a second and third grade, like middle school.
Middle school, second and third.
For seventh grade, like for our schools.
So, I mean, we're available, May 1st. I think, would you be available for a full day if we had to? I guess we could put us out for a full day.
Okay, so-
Full day. I don't know, I don't think this room will be available.
Okay, 9 to 3?
That'll work. I'll speak to Mr. Pistone and see if we can use, if you all are okay with that, we'll use the food services conference, I'll check with him, make sure that's available.
What about, May 8th? Which is Wednesday.
It's mental wellness, the joint mental wellness committee is that afternoon.
Well, the health insurance committee is on the 7th. No, on the 8th, I'm at another conference, sorry.
What about the 6th?
The 6th, that's a Monday though, Monday's good, a little bit. You have your,
I don't have my testing calendar in front of me.
okay. That's the thing, they don't have, like, they may not have their calendars exactly when all their testing is going on at their school, so that's, because after May 1st, that's when it hits pretty hard, correct?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry, I have to look, make sure that that's, you guys, it never stops at the high school, right?
My main one is the 14th and 15th.
Is that your ESCs?
Yes, that's mine.
So,
So we don't want 13th.
Oh, yeah, I guess not, no, because I want to review.
Can we decide on another day on May first?
Yeah.
And everybody bring their calendars and we can see if she can
can
squeeze
we,
it in.
can we do that maybe on May 1st? Or if you want to send me some other dates, I can send them out. I can send them out to everybody
Okay.
and see if that works better that way.
Get out of school. Isn't that terrible? I don't know that, I don't pay attention.
I just get up and come to work, all
May,
right?
your last day of work is May 31st.
Yeah.
Okay.
There are days I've shown up here and I thought it was a Saturday.
Graduation is the
Okay, it worries me. No.
Don't pay attention.
It's the 31st this year, correct?
Yes.
Right. It's,
For the kids, I think it's 29.
30th.
The kids are the 30th?
They come back from Memorial Day, we have a full day on Tuesday, and then half days
Yeah,
Wednesday.
I don't think my children have realized that yet, because they'll complain as soon as they realize they come back after Memorial Day. As soon as that is sunk in, that's gonna be,
Expect a phone call.
oh, I'm gonna get a text saying, hang on.
We agreed to the first.
Yes, that's good.
9-3. Like I said, that will, I believe this room is already booked, I believe I looked at it already. I'll check with Mr. Costello. That should be plenty of time for, to get over there, and that
The
will work.
cafeteria one.
Yeah,
Okay,
that will
so-
work okay for us.
So, May 1st from 9 to, well, we need to get in there at 8.
Oh, if it's over there, I don't think it'll be an issue at all. I'll set it up for 8 o'clock. We'll start at 9, we'll go 9 to 3, but it'll be available at 8.
Okay.
Yeah, just like we always do, no problem.
Okay.
I think this is 3:37. For your notes, it's 9 to 3. Ours is 8 to
Yeah.
3, but yours is 9 to 3. So we'll go out to lunch.
Oh, yeah, I know, that's our exact word, I know.
You guys gonna go to Sundays?
No.
Hey, who wants to go?
No.
She's retiring.
No, I'm the president,
I-
no.
We only got to go there because she was pregnant.
I wasn't.
No, don't.
I was sick, it's on
Deborah,
camera.
don't say stuff. I just remember that conversation, they were so excited they got to
Yes,
go, and I
they
didn't
were.
understand it.
No, we
All
don't
right.
go to.
All right, so May 1st, 9 to 3, I'll make sure wherever it is, Deborah, I'll let you know well in advance that it'll be available at 8.
And I'll send some
Send me,
updates.
yeah, if you send me some of those dates, I'll get them out and see what we can do, once they have their calendars in front of them.
Okay.
All right,
Okay, thank you.
we done? All right, thank you, folks, I
Okay,
appreciate it.
Thank you.
So my team, you need to cancel the 18th and put in
Good, thank you, sorry.